Welcome to Beauty with Lane. I'm your host, Helena, and I'm a content creator and certified hairstylist. I'll be spilling all the tea on the most shocking stories you've ever heard, the best beauty tips, relationship advice, and so much more. Get your mugs ready, everybody, because we're about to sip some serious tea. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Beauty with Lane, episode 5. So if you are a new listener, let's just say you just found my podcast and you're like, oh, let's go from episode 4 to episode 5. You might not realize that we actually have jumped almost 6 months into the future, or 5 months. It is currently July 2nd, and if you're watching the YouTube video, you might notice a little bit something different about me. So if you look closely, you see a cute 5-month-old little baby in my tummy. So I am pregnant. Oh my gosh, I was not expecting to make a video like this year. But it has been the craziest and most exciting surprise ever. And I'm so excited to get into today's video because we are talking craziest how I found out I was pregnant stories. And what's the most shocking is that I have my own story to tell you guys. So yeah, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm going to keep laughing and just be on this emotional high the entire episode. I'm a pretty emotional person in general, but being pregnant has really brought that side out of me, and I have a feeling that when I read through these stories, I will be a big mess unless they're funny. But yeah, so today we will be covering the craziest how I found out I was pregnant stories, and I guess I have a lot to catch up with you guys and some explaining to do. So we have lots of life updates. First off, I'm pregnant, guys, with a baby in my tummy. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to tell you guys the whole story on how we found out and was it planned? I'm going to answer some questions, and I'm just going to get into all of the life updates and where I've been for the past 5 months. So obviously my biggest life update is that I am pregnant. When I found out that I was pregnant, I really just wanted to take time to figure out what that was like on my own and with my husband. And I wanted to take a big step back from video creation and podcast creation just until I came to terms with the fact that I, Helena Grace, am going to be a mom. And I just wanted to take that time to myself and just enjoy every moment for what it was and be present, and also work a lot harder at my jobs because I have a baby to support now. And we also, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but we bought a house back in September, I think, or October, and it was 60% done, and we weren't planning on finishing it anytime soon. But now with this tiny Bubba on her way, which by the way, yes, she is a little girl, with this little Bubba on the way, we wanted to hunker down, which is my new phrase. Is something I've been saying all the time now. I don't know why. And finish the house and get moved in before I give birth, which is pretty ambitious, but we've been working really hard. And yeah, like I said, I just wanted to take a step back and really enjoy and just breathe in and soak in every moment of just being pregnant and spending time with my husband before baby comes. So yeah, that's where I've been for the past 5 months. Now, within that time frame, we've done lots of different things. I think we've brought the house up to 80% finished now, and we are in July, and we hope to be moving by August. But this year has just been so full of change. I've never been through such a changeful year in my life, but it's also been the sweetest and most exciting and emotional year of my life. So yeah, I guess that's a really quick update as to where I've been, what I've been doing. I've been growing a human. I've been working and just trying to get my stuff together before little miss comes and joins us on this side of the world. So since today's episode is going to be all about how I found out I was pregnant and different stories that I remember hearing growing up about people finding out that they were pregnant, I thought that I would share my own. And right before I started recording this video, which, by the way, if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple, I also have this very episode that you're listening to posted on my YouTube channel, which is Helena Tiburca. I will leave the link in the description of this episode and you can go watch it and listen if you want. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to this podcast and also my YouTube channel. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's helena.tiburca, and you can also find Beauty with Lane on Instagram as well if you want to keep up with all of like daily updates and different encouragements and upcoming episodes, and you want to send in your story, you can do all of that on any of those platforms. Okay, so back to my pregnancy story. Let's rewind all the way back to February of 2021 and even before. I was just freshening up my memory by watching a video that I filmed right after I found out that I was pregnant, because I'm one of those like emotional people who want to remember every moment. So I love to document everything and how I'm feeling. So I'll either do that through writing, but mostly through videos. So I woke up one morning and I filmed myself, and I'm just remembering like all of the feelings that I had when I first found out that I was pregnant. Like, I'm already past the halfway mark, so now I've really come to embrace my pregnancy and I understand what it's like. But one of the main phrases that I kept saying when I first, like the very first moment that I found out, was like, I don't even know what it means to be pregnant. Like, what is this? It was just such a foreign thing to me. So rewind to February of 2021. So one thing that you should know about me is that my cycle is very, very irregular. Like, if there was one thing I could rely on, it was that my period would always be late and I was never ever pregnant. So when February came around and my period was like a week late or something, I didn't think anything of it. But I am a very precautious person, and if I am, like, I always said, okay, you know what? I'm going to be responsible and find out if I'm pregnant. So every time my period would get past like a certain day, I would just take a test to make sure that I wasn't pregnant, and that way I could like do all of the healthy things that I needed to do for my body in order to make it like an optimal place for my little tiny angel to grow. So it was a random Saturday, and I remember I woke up with this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to have a baby. And I really remember I grabbed my phone, I went to the bathroom, and I started looking up all these random videos like, can you travel with babies? Can you like still keep your job while you're pregnant and while you have a newborn? And I was just trying to like soak in all of this information about babies. And I was like, why am I feeling this way? It was so strange. And I want to mention that a week before I found out that I was pregnant, which was literally like 3 days after conception, I had a dream, and I woke up with my hands on my belly, and I remember dreaming that I was pregnant, and I was calling all of my family, and I was like, guys, I'm pregnant, I'm having a baby girl, and I was just so excited to tell everyone that I was pregnant. And so I woke up from that dream with my hands on my tummy, and I was like, that is super strange. And then I tried to go back to sleep, and I had the exact same dream again, except for this time I dreamed that it was a girl, and I was telling everyone that it's a girl, because the first time I didn't dream that. I just dreamed that I was pregnant. So fast forward a week, it's a Saturday morning. I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I start like researching all of this stuff about babies and like how much your life changes when you have a baby, because Andre and I had always had like this 5-year plan, and after 5 years we were going to start trying to expand our family. So I go back to bed, I wake up Andre, and I was like, hey, I think that I'm ready to have a baby. And then I remember throwing my hands over my mouth, because I was never like a person who was drawn to babies or pregnancies. Like, some people just grow up knowing that all they want to do is be a mom, and that's like their biggest goal and dream, and they just want to raise families. And for me, I would actually kind of wonder, I was like, am I normal? Because I just didn't have that like maternal desire or instinct, at least for like a younger age. I always said, okay, when I'm like 25, then I'm gonna start trying to have like a child. So I remember when I told Andre, like, I think I'm ready to have a baby, I literally threw my hands over my mouth, and I was like, oh my gosh, now that I said it out loud, I'm not sure if I'm ready to have a baby yet or not. Little did I know that I think that I was basically being prepared to be told that I was pregnant. So Andre was like, yeah, a baby would be so nice. Like, he's always loved babies and he always has wanted a baby, but we both agreed that like 5 years would be perfect for us. So we were talking about it. We were kind of like fantasizing about it. We're like, oh, that would be so cute to have like a little miniature us, but it's just not the right time. So a few hours later, we decide to go to my parents' house to go hang out and have some breakfast together. And I knew that my mom had a pregnancy test because if you've seen in my previous episode about growing up in Romania, they have a foundation here and she always has like a couple of pregnancy tests on hand to give to women who are like curious if they're pregnant and stuff. So we go to my mom's, we hang out, and I just keep having this thought like, okay, my period is late, I'm due for my period. And I remember the day before we were hanging out with my brother and sister-in-law, and I remember telling her like, girl, I think I'm pregnant. Like, I just had this overwhelming sensation that I was pregnant. So after we have breakfast, I go to my mom and I just whisper like, hey, where are your pregnancy tests? Like, I just want to take one really quick. I was so curious. So I go into the bathroom and I take a test with me and I put the other ones like right outside the door because I only expected to need one. And well, I take a cup with me, which I totally recommend. If you think you're pregnant and you want to take multiple tests, definitely pee in a cup so that way you can keep testing. I go in the bathroom and I didn't even start my camera or anything because I was like, I'm not pregnant. Like, I knew as soon as I took the test, I even remember being sad and I was like, it's probably just gonna come out negative, even though like we weren't trying for a baby and we were actually like kind of avoiding having a baby. It was like I always in the back of my mind was like, what if? And it was just a really exciting thought to me. So when I grabbed the test, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be negative, no big deal. So I'm in the bathroom by myself and I dip the test in and I set it on the floor. I wash my hands, I set the timer. I'm not even thinking about it. And I just like happened to glance over and look at the ground and I see the faintest second line and I freaked out. I remember I was like, oh, no. I immediately started like verbally saying no and I was by myself and I grabbed my phone and I was shaking like a leaf and I go over and I like start filming and I even have a video clip that maybe I'll post on the Instagram and I'll show you guys a picture of how faint the line was because I literally found out that I was pregnant like 7 or 8 days after conception. It was like really, really quick. And I remember looking, I was like, no. And I remember my mom also said like, hey, these pregnancy tests are expired or about to expire. So like, I'm not sure how reliable they are, but at least you can like get an idea. And I've used them before, expired, and they always came out negative. So when I saw this first line, I remember like my entire world within a second just changed. Like, I can't tell you, it was the craziest feeling I've ever had in my entire life. Like, there's nothing that compares to the moment where you go from being just like a single wife type person and then realizing that there's an entire world like growing inside of you. And it's just the craziest feeling ever. I start crying immediately and I like wipe off my face. I'm freaking out and I'm like, I need to go grab another test, but I don't want anybody to see me like react because I want to tell Andre by myself. Like, I just want it to be me and him and have it be like a really special moment. So I grab another test, I open it, I stick it in, I take it out and it comes out positive. So I grab another test. I was like, okay, there's no way I'm gonna get 3 positives. I get the third test, I stick it in, I wait, it's positive. So then at this point I'm just like sobbing and I'm just trying to figure out like, what does it mean to be pregnant? Like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? Like, I shouldn't be pregnant because my app told me that it was safe. Like, I wasn't going to get pregnant, which, by the way, guys, if you're a late cycle girl like me, then you need to be extra careful with the natural family planning method because the app is inaccurate according to my doctor because everyone ovulates a little bit earlier or a little bit later. We're all different. So I was a late ovulator. So when I thought that it was safe, it was not safe and I got pregnant. So just saying, be careful if you're not trying to expand your family. Just a little bit of advice. So I see that all the tests are positive and I'm like, okay, I need to go and tell Andre like right now because I never can hold a secret from Andre. Like, he knows everything about me, every detail. And this was the biggest secret of my entire life. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this information? So I wipe my tears. I try to look chill. And I walk out and I remember just like my head was spinning and I had a million thoughts. I was like excited and scared and just feeling every emotion on the planet. And I walk out and my mom was just like, "Are you okay?" And I remember I didn't want to lie and be like, "Oh no, I'm not pregnant," if she asked me. I just wanted to be like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So when she asked me if I'm okay, I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, no worries." And I walk into the kitchen and she's like, "Oh, cool," because we're just talking about like house plans and stuff. Because our house is just a few like houses down from my parents. It's in the same like neighborhood. And my mom was talking about like a porch swing. And I remember in my head, I was like, "A porch swing? I can't think about porch swings right now. Like, I'm having a baby." And that's what I was just thinking in my head. I was like, my entire world is upside down. I cannot talk about a porch swing right now. So I walk over to NJ and I'm like, "Hey babe, let's walk down to our house. There's something that we need to measure for like the construction team this coming week." And he was like, "We were just there yesterday. We already measured everything." And I was like, "No, I need you to come with me to the house." And I remember getting actually a little bit mad in my head because I was like, "You have no idea that I'm actually pregnant and my life is upside down right now, and I need you to come to the house, okay?" But I couldn't say that, so I convinced him to come, and he was a little bit like, "Oh, I don't want to go, but I'll go anyway." We started driving to the house, and I saw like a little baby goose and its mom, and I almost lost it. And I was like, "Look at the little baby goose. It's really cute, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, it is cute, I guess." And I was like, "Seems like everybody's having babies, huh?" And he was just clueless. He was like, "Yeah, I guess so. It's almost spring." So, okay, so we get to the house and I snuck the pregnancy test into my pocket. And my plan here was I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to be like, "Okay, so this is going to be our bedroom. This is going to be your office. And I think we should put the baby here because it's closest to our bedroom." And then I'd be like, "Look, I'm pregnant." And I thought it would be really cute. Well, I was very, very emotional. And as soon as we start walking, I was like, "Babe, come on, I got to show you something upstairs." So we start walking up and I took the pregnancy tests out and I had them in my hand and I was like, "Okay, so that'll be our bedroom and this will be your office." And then I just started ugly crying and I was like, "And this is going to be the baby's room." And I was just like sobbing uncontrollably. And he was like, "Are you okay?" He immediately got really concerned and gave me a hug. He had no idea what was going on. And I was like, "This is going to be the baby's room." And I showed him the pregnancy test and he was like, "Are you kidding? Like, this is so great." He said, "That's so good, Lane." He kept giving me like hugs and reassuring me. And it was just like a really, really special moment. And not for a second was he worried or concerned. He was just like, "Oh, that's great." And then I was like freaking out. I was like, "We weren't ready. Like, we didn't know we were. What am I going to do? Like, can I still be like a small group leader?" And like, I just had every single question on the planet and I was verbalizing it. And I remember him like giving me a hug and he was like, "Oh no, you're really like thinking about everything right now. Like, you need to calm down." And he was trying to like console me, but I was pretty much inconsolable because I was terrified and excited, but also scared, and I was happy and I was just all over the place. So that is how I found out that I was pregnant and how I told my husband. There's more to the story that I will be covering on my YouTube channel when I talk on like just a normal video. But if you want more details, stay tuned for the next YouTube video. But after that, we went back to my parents a few hours later after me and NJ had like kind of taken in the news and like double, triple, quadruply checked to make sure that I was pregnant. And then we went and told our families, and it was such an exciting and happy time. Like, I remember telling our friends. It was just so exciting. And now it's already been almost like 5 months since then. And it has just been a roller coaster. And now I've really embraced like becoming a mom and being pregnant and working. And I have been loving like every minute of it. So it's just been a really exciting ride. And I'm excited to see where I'm going next. And I'm also really excited for birth and to see this tiny little angel girl and kiss her and hug her and just give her all the love in the world. So that is my pregnancy story. And now I think it's about time that we get into other people's how I found out I was pregnant stories. So the first one that I want to say that I thought was really, really cute was this family that I saw on Facebook or YouTube or something. They were trying to conceive. The husband knew that the wife always went to the bathroom in the middle of the night and she never flushed. So he was like, I'm going to tell her that she's pregnant. And I just thought that that was the coolest and craziest thing ever. So while she was sleeping, he took the pregnancy test to the bathroom, dipped it in the toilet bowl, and it came back positive. And then the next morning he was like, babe, you're pregnant. And she was like, no, I'm not. How did you even do that? And I just thought that that was so cool and creative. So that was the first story that I wanted to share with you guys. Now I'm going to grab my phone and read some crazy how I found out I was pregnant stories. I have not read these stories yet and I haven't gone over them at all. So I will be genuinely reacting to them at the same time you are. But without further ado, let's get into the first story. Okay, this one is titled An Oscar-Winning Act. A young couple had been married for less than a year when one Friday morning, the wife told the husband that she didn't feel like going to work. That was odd, as she was normally a workaholic. So off they went to a family clinic where wifey bragged to her husband about her Oscar-winning acting ability. She planned to fake a stomach ache to get an MC from her doctor, which is like a medical leave. In the doctor's room, she was asked about her last date of her period and told to take a urine test. The wife and the husband laughed privately, thinking how smooth this little white lie was going to go. Less than 20 minutes later, the nurse called the wife to the doctor's office where they congratulated the stunned wife and the dumbfounded husband on their pregnancy of 4 weeks. Needless to say, they never faked another MC again. Okay, that's really funny. I'm just imagining going to the doctor for a routine checkup and then just finding out that you're pregnant and everyone congratulating you and you're just like, what do you mean? I'm pregnant? That would be absolutely crazy. All right, next story. My brother's friend found out when she had a baby that she was pregnant. I was chatting with her and her husband and she said that she had no idea that she was pregnant the whole time. One night she woke up in the middle of the night and had to go to the bathroom and birthed a child in the toilet, pulled the baby out and took a baby to her sleeping husband, and he was confused as heck. He thought somebody must have left it at their doorstep. Once she explained what had happened, they went to the hospital. Are you kidding me? That would be my worst nightmare. I mean, I'm very, very body conscientious. So I always know if something's up or if there's the smallest change or anything. I cannot imagine not having a period for 9 months and not even wondering if you were pregnant. Did they say that she had a period or anything? Yeah, she didn't. They didn't say if she had a period or anything. Some women have this weird phenomenon where they do get a period while they're pregnant, I'm pretty sure. It's very rare, but it does happen. And that's how some people end up having a baby without even knowing that they're pregnant, which sounds terrifying. I love that I found out early because you get time to embrace pregnancy and also prepare mentally and physically. If you don't know that you're having a baby and you just have no emotional bond to your pregnancy and then you just give birth, I'm sure that's probably super traumatizing and confusing and you have no time to prepare. That's absolutely insane. Okay. When I took the pregnancy test, I had been a couple of days late. We found out on Guy Fawkes night, and I live in the middle of town, so I kid you not, fireworks went off outside my building when I told my significant other the test had turned up positive. That is so sweet. Imagine telling your significant other and then immediately or during your conversation, they're fireworks going off. It's a sign. It's just beautiful. I love that. Oh my gosh. I just read this one in advance because it was really short. I'm going to share it with you guys. So this person said, I tried getting pregnant for years. My period was late again and I was just mad. I was so sick of seeing negative tests. So I took a test just to prove to myself that I wasn't pregnant. ... I cried. That is so sweet. Yeah, that was a really, really touching and good story. Okay, next story. I worked at a dog daycare at the time, and I came home from work one day extremely nauseous. My boyfriend and I smoked cigars at the time, and when he picked me up, the cigar made me puke. The next day I go to work, and the smell of the building was making me so nauseous that I made all the staff members go through and do a major deep cleaning. I was the manager. I seriously thought that they hadn't been cleaning properly. At the end of the day, a fellow manager joked, "Maybe you're pregnant." I told her it was impossible as I was told I wouldn't be able to have kids. However, I couldn't get the thought out of my head. I get in the car and tell my boyfriend about the date and the joke. Now we both start thinking about it and questioning. However, we both keep going back to it's not possible. So he decides we should just stop and buy a couple of pregnancy tests just to set our minds at ease. Get the test, pee on the stick, and boom, instant positive. Take the other test again, instant positive. The next day we go to the clinic to make 100% sure that it was accurate, and the nurse walks in with the, "Congratulations, looks like you beat the odds." I was so unprepared for the results that I cried. I'm currently 34 weeks pregnant and so happy with my miracle baby, but it was a lot to take in at the time. That is so sweet. I mean, I can't even imagine how crushing the news that you can't have a baby is. And to be able to beat the odds, I've heard another story like that before, and it just like warms my heart. I almost started crying just now because that's like so, I can't even imagine, like, I can't even describe the feeling, but it's like, I bet her heart was like really, really full, and it was also shocking. But yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that story. I went to the doctor with my wife on Tuesday because she wasn't feeling well. We thought it couldn't happen for us because we had been trying for a few years. When our eyes met through the glass, she mouthed, "I'm pregnant." It was the first time she ever saw me cry. You've got to be kidding me. Like, all of these stories are so emotional and sweet. Like, my heart is overwhelmed. All right, next story. We both wanted children, but we weren't actively trying. We honestly expected it would take a while to conceive because of our weight, health, habits, etc. So we went unprotected once and said if nothing happens, we would try again in a couple of months. But I just knew when it happened, which doesn't even make sense to me. So at 8 a.m. on the day I was due to start my period, I've always been right on schedule. Couldn't be me. Couldn't relate. I took a pregnancy test. I had no doubt in my mind that it would be positive. I didn't even have to wait 2 minutes. The second line appeared almost instantly. My husband and I were staying at different places closer to our jobs because the power was out in our apartment and it was 100+ degrees. We were going to see each other that night at my family's 4th of July celebration. As my dad and uncle finished their firework display, I slipped the test into my husband's hand. We didn't even look at it. He just said, "We're pregnant, aren't we?" And we both freaked out a little bit together. I can't read these stories anymore because I'm just getting really emotional. I didn't read these before, so I thought like maybe some of them would just be like crazy and wild, but they're all just so heartwarming. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. That's really, really sweet. It's crazy that like as women, I think that a lot of times we just get this intuition that we're pregnant, and it's like, How do you know? Like, how did I have a dream that I was pregnant like 2 days after we conceived, or 3 days? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's this inner intuition that you just know when you're pregnant a lot of times. It's just crazy. I've had a lot of friends and family members who also just have dreams that they're pregnant and they take a test and then they are, which I think is like absolutely insane. So I really like this story. Oh, I almost said her name. She just kicked me. So we are having a baby girl and we have picked out her name, and we picked out her first name but not her middle name yet, but I think we're pretty set on one, and I'm so used to just calling her name. I'm like, "Oh, little Miss Blank." And I can't tell you guys what her name is yet. Maybe I'll tell you guys in the future, but I think we want to keep the name like, I mean, we tell our friends and family, they already know, they all call her by her name. But I think we're going to wait until I give birth to tell everybody what her name is. All right, next one. My husband and I weren't trying and had made the decision to wait 3 more years before family planning. Sounds like me. He went on a father-son vacation with his dad for 2 weeks, came home for 1 week, and then left for a 3-month-long training for his career. We got pregnant during his week back after vacation. I think because we knew we wouldn't be seeing each other for so long, we went a little crazy. My periods have always been irregular or non-existent, and I even went to the gynecologist who said everything was normal. The day I found out was July 23rd, the day after his birthday. I had to tell him over the phone, and we were both shocked. Aw, that's so sweet. All right, I'm going to read a few more stories and then I'm going to have to close up this episode. So let me find a couple of good ones. Mine is a bit similar with the doctor getting it wrong. I had a feeling I was pregnant, so I took a home pregnancy test. Positive. Immediately, I called the doctor and they had an opening for 2 hours later. I went in and did the blood test. The nurse came back and told me that it's negative. I was kind of disappointed and drove home. I walked in the door and told my husband that I wasn't pregnant. Literally 2 minutes after I got home, the doctor called and said I needed to come back, that there was a problem with the test. I drive back and they tell me the lab person accidentally put negative instead of positive and that I was indeed pregnant. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, so part of me and Andre's story of like finding out that I was pregnant was because I took the test kind of in the early afternoon and they came out positive. My urine was more concentrated, but then throughout like the next few hours, I drank like probably a liter or something of water. So when we came home, we knew those tests were expired. So we were like, okay, let's make sure that it's positive and get some more tests. Well, since I was so early on in my pregnancy, my pregnancy hormone was not very strong yet. And we came home and I took a test and it was like negative. And I got so sad because after you go through like a life-changing experience, even if it's like shocking or whatever, you don't want anybody to tell you that the opposite is true. So like I had just come to terms like, oh wow, I'm pregnant. And then I take a test and then it was like negative. Then I take a second. Well, this was actually my 5th pregnancy test at this point. And this one had the faintest line. Like I remember Andre looking at it and we started filming it and you could not see it, but I could like see the tiniest little line. Like if you held it up in the light just right and tilted it, you could see the line. So I knew that I was pregnant, but it was definitely disheartening to see like the negative after you get positives and you're like, okay, so now what do I believe? Because for the past like 3 hours, I've been freaking out and also being really excited about being pregnant. And suddenly I'm getting other tests that are saying that I'm not. So we waited a little bit and then I drank less water. I waited, took another pregnancy test, and then that one came up positive. So 6 tests later, I was 100% positive that I was pregnant. And then because I found out so early, I had to wait almost like a month or actually 3 weeks to go in and see the baby. And she was just like a tiny little dot at that point. She was so small. But yeah, finding out that you're pregnant and then taking another test and someone telling you it's wrong is like super, in other words, almost traumatic, basically. So I totally feel for this mom. All right, you guys, I think this is going to be the last one for the episode. Okay, it's not the craziest story, but it is funny. My husband and I have been trying for almost 2 years, and I've gotten so used to taking tests and getting negatives. I was on the phone with my parents one afternoon, and I felt like having a glass of wine, so I decided to test real fast to confirm the negative. A responsible queen. I muted them while they were talking, peed on a stick, and ended up seeing the second line while we were still on the phone. I flipped out internally, but I had to play chill for 15 more minutes until we finally hung up. I paced the house the whole time and I sweated through my shirt by the end of the call. That's so funny. Like that's kind of what happened to me too. It's like you don't think you're pregnant, but you just want to be sure so that way you can be safe and you don't feel guilty for anything. And you take the test and then this lady, she finds out that she's pregnant, has to stay on the phone. Like at least I was in the bathroom and I could lock the door and just blame like lactose intolerance for being in there so long. But this poor girl, she had to like talk on the phone and walk around. She literally sweat through her shirt. I wonder what her husband's reaction was like after 2 years of trying. I'm sure that was like so exciting. Well, guys, we have come to the end of our episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoyed this story. I know that it was a little bit long, but I just wanted to get all the details in there. I'm really, really happy to be getting back into the podcast. If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you're watching on the YouTube channel. And also, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe or follow so that you always stay up to date when I release new episodes, which will be every Wednesday from now on. And if you're listening on Apple, you can leave a review and let me know what you thought of the episode and of the podcast so that other people can see what the podcast is about and what you guys think about it. And you can also go to my Instagrams, Beauty with Lane, and also helena.tiburca, and you can follow me there for daily updates. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'm so excited to be filming more in the future. And that was the tea, everybody. See you next week. Bye.